Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Joining me is Utsav Chakrabarti as we look at this spreading of violence against Hindus in Bangladesh. This is not new, it has happened in the past, but the intensity and the new ways in which Hindus are being attacked, policemen who happen to be Hindus not being spared, professors, doctors, anyone who's in any professional service being forced to resign, and the dummy that or dummy or dumbass, or whatever you want to call him, is saying that nothing is going wrong in Bangladesh. So this is the status today. In fact, in the morning, 4 hours ago, I put out a video that Utsav, I think his name is Utsav Mandal, was serious. Unfortunately, now people are saying that he's actually dead. That the government is covering it up by hoping that by saying he's serious and he's recovering, that people will forget about it. It's not. I think he's gone. This has happened in the past also. Now let's welcome Utsav Chakrabarti, who has been keeping tabs on what is going on in this recent cycle of violence. Utsav, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel. How are you?
Namaste, Sree. I'm happy to be back. Sad day, but happy to be back. We need to discuss this.
Utsav, I put out sort of a teaser, if you will, for this program, that a couple of incidents that happened. One was a lynching incident, which was shown to be like an industrialist who employs 200 Bangladeshis being lynched to death. Turned out that it's actually a Hindu constable. So things are getting into a worse state inside the police station, outside the police station. In fact, viewers, you may have seen an army soldier shoot down a Hindu in front of other army colleagues, right in the middle during daytime. It's just getting ridiculous, and this what could I call? I mean, dummy is saying that nothing is wrong, and the United States, for whatever reason, you are experts at creating pottery barn. Go into a pottery barn and then you can't put it back together. 170, 180 million people. This is a disaster. Anyway, so this is where things stand. Utsav, you have been keeping track of it. Update us how many families, how many Hindu attacks have happened, probably returning into hundreds, and what is going on.
So thank you, Sree. We have been keeping tabs on incidents that are happening across the country, and by no means I should say that we have the complete list of all the incidents, because I do not want to claim that we have been able to gather full data on all the incidents. But since the past 1 month, so we have been we started collecting data on August 5th, and we have the complete data up to complete with quotes data up to September 3rd, and then of course in the past 2 days we have seen what's been going on. But we don't have all the data from the past 2 days. So in the last month until September 3rd, we have documented about 228 events. Those events include attacking of Hindu houses, so if you see this is just a last, since 22nd August, I sent you a list, and I think the list goes down further. And this is just a glimpse. I did not want to share the full information. It will take an hour to discuss it, but this is just from the 22nd. And this has been going on without a break. The only break that happened was during the time when the flood waters really went up, between the 20th of August up to the 26th of that 1 week. Either we did not get enough information did not come out of these attacks, or there was a slight reduction in the attacks because everybody was suffering from flood. But other than that, there has been a continuous attacking of Hindus. It is happening more in the rural areas. It includes burning of temples. It includes targeting of houses, looting of houses, and of course, attacks on individuals, women, children, and men. Men who are employed, they were either government servants or teachers or professors. Women being targeted for kidnapping, rape, and of course, now, as you saw today, there are young children who are being, even in front of the police, in front of their parents, they are being lynched. So this is something that is unacceptable, and this is something that we are communicating to the American State Department, and they have no excuse. There is no way they can say that, oh, we did not know what is happening. We have been sharing information every week with them, all the data that we have collected here at Hindu Action. And I must say that I'm very thankful to a lot of volunteers across the South Asian region in the Indian subcontinent who have been providing us with information, including those from within Bangladesh. Of course, I'm not going to go into the details of them because it puts them in danger, but that's how we are collecting the information. And this is really tragic. And I think America needs to step up, the White House needs to step up, and the State Department needs to step up.
I don't know which clown in the Department of State suggested that we do this thing. This has been going on for a while. Actually, the planning started months ago. If you, I'm doing some back testing and checking at what are the things that are happening. Also, there is some connect of these people influence in the Indian bureaucracy also, which basically made India not prepared for this. And if you look at the dots now, it is very obvious and how the NSA or the Ministry of Home or the PMO missed it beyond me. There are two critical appointments, Utsav, and the first time I'm revealing this because this is something that Prime Minister Modi needs to check, because the pattern is just staring at you in your face. There is a Bangladesh desk in Ministry of External Affairs. There's a Bangladesh desk in RAW. Turns out in both these places, transfers were effected just weeks before the shit fell from the ceiling. And the people who replaced them can't speak a word of Bengali, whereas the people before them were experts. They had deep connects. They knew exactly what was going on. And why were they transferred? Why does the Indian government do these things? Somebody has moved. I have to tell you, I've seen this exact thing play out in Galwan also. Somebody has been doing all these things high up in the PMO. They need to investigate and come out with a statement on what I'm alleging today. This is just ridiculous that Modi has to go and ask Biden to save the lives of Hindus. That clearly tells us that the Indian government has determined that it is the United States that was the cause of the regime change. Shame on you, United States. I'm a citizen of US and I'm aghast at what you are doing here. Do you understand 185 million people packed in like a state smaller than Texas? What kind of things are happening there? Every time you go into any country, it's like going into a pottery barn store. Go and break it up, don't know how to get out, and now somebody else is coming in. The radical elements. I mean, Utsav, this is so disheartening, man. And India is right now not prepared, and they'll say the season isn't right for them to even go in to try and stabilize this country. So what? Even if you stabilize, what kind of a gratitude does this country have? The last 10 years, their growth, their prosperity, their economic improvement came because India helped them grow their garment industry from nothing to 35 to 40 billion dollars. Some people are saying as high as 60 billion dollars. Guess what? That's all coming crashing down. It's all coming crashing down because people no longer want to give any of these businesses to you guys, and you are the reason why it's happening. First, it is United States, and now they don't know how to solve this problem. I have to give this tongue lashing, Utsav, because these bozos in 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙀 𝗍𝙬 claiming themselves to be expert don't know shit about what's going on in the land. Are you going to give asylum to all the professors who have been dismissed or forced to resign? Why can't Yunus come out and give a statement saying that all these resignations were taken by force and they are not valid? Why can't you do that? I mean, did you hear anything about this? Any action at all on part of this stupid government that calls itself the Bangladeshi government about how people of one religion are being attacked in this way?
No, I think it's even worse than that. I think in my understanding, and obviously I'm in Washington DC, so I have a perspective on this. In my understanding, I think there are two things that are happening that are really concerning, and we should really worry about this. All Americans should be worried about it. Number one, that despite knowing very well that Yunus and his partners in government or interim government, whatever you want to call it, are radical Islamists. And over the last 3 weeks, every step that has been taken in Bangladesh essentially empowers the radical Islamists even more. So there is no excuse. So the White House and Washington DC is fully aware of that. and there has not been any public statement coming out from Washington, D.C. on this aspect. That is the most concerning part, point number one. Point number two that is equally concerning is that there has been efforts being made in Bangladesh to target Hindu teachers, professors, academics, because Hindus have been, Bangladesh is a country whose culture is held together by the Hindus. It's a country which its entire Bengali civilizational narrative comes from the Hindu population primarily. And they have been in academia for a really long time, even from the East Pakistan days. In fact, that's the first thing that the Pakistan army did, was to target Hindu professors, teachers, and that has been revived. We ourselves documented 36 of those incidents until the end of August. We have been given more data by other organizations from within Bangladesh that documents 52 of those incidents. And this is very reminiscent of what happened in Nazi Germany back before the Holocaust started. So between 1933 to 1938, 39, one of the things that the brown shirts, the SA, the brown shirts of Nazi organizations did was to go around targeting Jewish teachers, professors, and academics. That's why most of them, including Albert Einstein, ended up in America. And that was the reason, because they were being just harassed. And this is happening in Bangladesh as we speak. And on the State Department is aware of it. I am personally communicating with them, and they're obviously acknowledging that they're receiving the information. But there is no response. There is complete silence. The Senate Foreign Affairs Committee, which is full of members of Congress, primarily Democrats, who are very, very focused on that region. Senator Van Hollen, Senator Ben Cardin made huge statements right before the government fell in Bangladesh. Complete silence. We have presented to them. I have talked to them. I've talked to their staff. I keep updating them with information, but there is absolute silence from their end. And I can guess and make postulations on why they're silent and why they're not doing anything. But the most important thing here is that my responsibility here as a Hindu organization in Washington, D.C. is to make them accountable, is to provide them with the information and hold them accountable for all the things that are happening.
I was trying to get a list of professors and people in higher positions in academics who are forced to resign. It was just looking at, and then
my apologies. I have that list. I did not share it with you before. It will be hard to bring it up now.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, we've done this also. What I'm trying to say is, often, at least in social media, they say that Hindus are not doing enough for the Bangladeshi Hindus. I disagree. Hindus have come out in huge numbers in many cities, but in India, when they wanted to take out processions, many INDI alliance governments are not giving permission. Yes. They don't even want them to march with the Indian flag, even assuming they get permission. This is going to ridiculous levels. These governments, these state governments, are bankrupting the state, and essentially they are trying to create a situation where India can no longer be a state which can basically take care of its needs and not go with an open hand begging bowl to other nations for aid. India has stopped doing that many years ago, and they want to recreate the situation. And why I'm saying all this is that, viewers, spare a thought. This could be us. Because India's Bengal, I'll tell you another example, Utsav. This is something that's heartbreaking. In Bengal, in the 24 Parganas district, there are many villages that are Hindu majority. And when the cyclone hit, this is around Lok Sabha election time, one phase to the other, a cyclone hit, and these people were marooned. No food supplies were reaching them. TMC did not want to give them supplies because they think that TMC thinks that these people will not vote for them. Why bother giving them supply? So some voluntary organizations tried to organize supplies, and they, of course, their pickup point was of Kolkata, because grains were coming in from various parts of India, and from there to get to these islands, my God, you wouldn't believe the number of bottlenecks that were put everywhere. Bribe. Why do you want to take this thing? Where are you going? It is just becoming This is actually, these are Hindus. These are Hindus who migrated from Bengal, from Bangladesh in 1971, and because they were not rich enough to maybe buy land inside, they were forced to be in the border in the 24 Parganas district. And now they are being focused and targeted that if you don't convert, we are going to rape your women, we are going to starve you. This starving thing also happened in Bangladesh. 45 families were not allowed any food because they were said, unless you convert to Islam, we are not going to give food. So this country has no business doing these kinds of threats. And I don't know why Modi had to go and ask Biden to stop violence against Hindus in Bangladesh. Even if the United States started it, why would a prime minister go and ask the other country? It tells me that Indian government is pretty helpless. That's how I read it. So you may read it differently. And basically what is going to happen again is after a month, 2 months, 3 months, somehow the floodgates will open and we'll have another refugee crisis on India's hands. This is what's going to happen. And if you want to stop it, they need to also tell US that the ground is slipping from under your feet. Your own nationals are leaving Dhaka by the droves. They don't believe that the US is going to be able to sustain the radicalism hit that's going to come towards them. The US consulate is closed in Dhaka. Did you hear that? It's been closed for several days now.
So I think there are multiple angles that we need to look into. One of the things that that is happening in Bangladesh is that also we should worry about, and that Indians should be worried about, is that because we have all the data, or at least a big chunk of the data of the attacks on Hindus all across the country, we are observing a pattern in where the attacks are happening. And what we are noticing is that the attacks are actually happening in the areas which are closer to the Indian border, especially in the north, in the area which is near the chicken's neck. So if you look up in the north area, this is the Rangpur area. Do you see my mouse in this?
No.
Okay.
Can our editor move the mouse?
So if you
Rangpur
see,
is the north.
yeah,
there you go.
if you go for, yeah, that's the further north. It's next to the chicken's neck. Yeah, that entire leg that sticks out. A big section of the targeting, I would say about 35% of the data that we have of the 227 incidents over the last 1 month, 35% of that data comes from that particular area. Bordering, it's a place, actually 10 to 15% of the data comes from only one small area called Thakurgaon, which is right next to India in West Bengal. And a lot of the data shows that the violence is happening against Hindus in the border areas. Some on the south side and some on the northern side near Rangpur. So that tells us, I'm not saying all the incidents are, big chunk of the incident proportionally. That tells us that there is already an effort being made in Bangladesh to force these people out of these areas and force them to go to India. So it's something that I believe is in their muscle memory. They have done it in the past. They did it in 1971. They did it before that. They did after that. Back in 2001 also they did the same thing. 2013 they did the same thing. So I think it becomes a muscle memory for these radical Islamists that they are trying to force the Hindus out into India from these areas because they believe they will be successful and changing the demography further. Another thing that I believe is also very concerning is that the aid that are being given during the flood relief is going through radical Islamist organizations. And those radical Islamist organizations are very well connected in America, within America. They work with Islamist groups inside America. We have been warning about them for a really long period of time. I'm sorry to say, but they're very well connected with the current administration and almost have a vote bank relationship with them. And that is something I believe needs to be looked into, because what we are seeing here is a situation where I don't think America itself will benefit from this in the long run. It will devolve into a situation like Egypt, where a person like Morsi was removed again from power, even though he came to power with certain help from certain sectors of Washington, D.C., back during President Obama's time, and it didn't work out. So I really feel that in the long run, even in the short term also, cajoling and using or working with radical Islamists as global power power processor is not going to work. And this is something that Hindu Action personally and my personally, we are trying to push that conversation in Washington DC. How successful we are will depends. But one more thing I need to say on the brighter side, even though there is so much tragedy happening in Bangladesh, I do believe that the solid activism shown by the Hindu community this time around on such a short notice, literally people were out on the streets in America and many other parts of the world, Western countries, within 2 days. From 4th to 6th August, people were on the streets. There were rallies, there were meetings happening with members of Congress, policymakers, State Department. That did help to bring down the level of violence to some degree. It's a relative measurement, but I was involved in understanding this issue back in 2001, when again a similar situation arose, and the community, the Hindu community globally, was totally unaware of it. It took almost 3 months to respond, and almost thrice the number of lives and violence had already happened by that time. So this time I want to credit the Hindu activists around the world that they did act fast. It did save lives. It's not enough. We need to do more.
Thank you so much, Utsav. And people say that I'm being emotional. Look, I have the data with me. Okay, I have even the names. So don't give me BS that I'm being emotional and just throw wild facts. I have all the data. I don't want to. One bureaucrat's name mentioned in the public doesn't help anything. My picture, my goal is to try and tell the Modi government that somewhere somebody is inside. There's an inside job going on. This happened in Galwan also, incident also. That's my concern. Because tomorrow, if China invades India, these people will think that nothing is going wrong because the specific information will be withheld. Anyway, so let's take some questions, Utsav.
Sure.
Manov-san wants to know, has US closed its Bangla consulates to avoid asylum claims? Can Indian American NRI sway the Biden government to show more concern for Bangla Hindus? Is a Trump victory expected to change this policy?
So very good questions. I actually we have worked on all of these questions that you asked. So to answer the first question, can Hindu Americans, Indian Americans is a term we don't use because we are in America. We are Hindus. We are proud Hindus. We call ourselves American Hindus from all parts of the world. Can we sway the Biden government to show more concern from Bangladesh? We are trying. We are trying very hard. We are providing data. We are providing facts. We are providing information. We are providing, generational wisdom. I know I come from that part of the world. I personally know the history of that part of the world quite a bit. And so I know what is going on more than many people, unfortunately, in the State Department or the White House do. And we are trying to provide that information to them. So far, have we succeeded? Maybe not as much as we would have wanted to. Something may have made an impact. So can we sway the Biden government to show concern for the Bangladeshi Hindus? We are trying the best we can. There's some of it may be working, not enough, certainly not. Is a Trump victory expected to change the policy? So when it comes to asylum seekers, or when it comes to refugees to America, we genuinely want Bangladeshi Hindus who would want to come to America be able to come here and seek refuge. Because if people from Syria can come, if people from Afghanistan can come, if people from you name it can come, then why not Bangladeshi Hindus? We want them to have the ability to be safe in America. And so we will support that. We will support that in every way possible. We have put that out in front of the White House, in front of elected officials here. We haven't received any positive response yet. If Trump wins, I don't think refugees will get support. I think the Trump administration would be very, very anti bringing in anybody to America, including Hindus, as refugees. So I don't think we would have that kind of support. In fact, in our meeting with Congressman Rich McCormick, he pushed back very hard on that part, on giving asylum and refugee part. He was supportive on being tough on the radical Islamists, which is the crux of the whole problem here. Will Trump?
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. So, how many senators and congressmen are aware that it is the United States that is behind this coup?
Well, I won't name people, but I would say almost 100% of them are aware. I think I would say that at least a couple of them have indicated jokingly that, it was probably a deep American effort in some ways. I don't think it's hidden to most people that there was a role that was played, and it was not just America. I think it was America, UK, and Canada in different degrees of participation. It was quite open out there. I mean, you could see for the last 2 years at least, and I could see for the last 2 years that there were efforts being made by the diaspora of the Bangladeshi community, many of whom were radical Islamists, in my opinion, connected to Islamist organizations in America, working very hard and getting some response in support of this effort.
We can't even put our own house in order, and you want to go and disturb somebody else's house. Idiots. Magnet Ranga wants to know, Namaskar ji, have things got out of control of Bangladesh government? Why is the world silent on the targeted attacks, unlike what happens when Muslims face problems? Is it wrong to be a Hindu?
I believe it's a rhetorical question. It's up to us Hindus to make sure that all attacks against us, all targeting against us, as it's happening in Bangladesh right now, happens in Pakistan all the time, happens in India all the time, happens in America, that we counter it. We counter it through responses that, as much as possible, can be legally tackled. So that's my response. I mean, we need to stand up for ourselves as Hindus, and that's what I personally do on behalf of Hindu Action. That's what Hindu Action does in America. Now, the question is it out of control for the Bangladesh government? I'm not sure the Bangladesh government is interested in controlling it. In fact, if you see the kind of events that unfolded in the last 2-3 weeks, they have released people who were known terrorists connected to banned terrorist organizations that have links to Al-Qaeda. They've released those people on bail. The 𝗤𝙗𝙖𝙪𝙥𝙥 leadership that was totally in support of Pakistan in 1971, totally supported the genocide of Hindus and Muslims in Bangladesh during 1971, they are out there. So I'm not sure that the Yunus government is even trying to control the situation. I believe that they may have been under some pressure from Western administrations to act upon it, but I don't see any action being taken.
Utsav, one question that I have, I don't have the data into this. The borders are sealed with Bangladesh. Nothing is coming in, nothing is going out, which means that day-to-day rice, salt, cotton for their garment factories, nothing is going in. And I'm also hearing that there are lots of unpaid bills for the electric utility manufacturers who have been supplying power to Bangladesh. At what point is India going to start, enforcing some of these economic sanctions? Basically, you don't pay, you don't get electricity. It's a different matter what they'll do with that excess electricity, but you don't get electricity, period. So what is going on in India's mind? I mean, it's all good to ask Biden, who I don't know if he was even listening to what Modi was saying, because the press release that came after the meeting didn't even touch upon the state of Hindus in Bangladesh. So what exactly can India do? This needs to stop. This madness needs to stop.
Well, I can't communicate with people in India or leadership in India, so I have no way to know what they are thinking and what they are doing. But if I could appeal to the Indian government, my appeal would be that it is important that Bangladesh understands that it strategically and geopolitically it is in India. It is surrounded by India on all sides. It doesn't have strategic depth. And any efforts by whoever is in the ruling role in Bangladesh to target India's interest, to target Hindus in Bangladesh, or to target any other people in Bangladesh who stand for justice and equality, including Muslims, India should play a key role in containing such a situation. India should play a key role in ensuring that justice prevails in Bangladesh. Let me put it that way. And I think India, in my opinion, India would act towards that direction. And I still believe that India has the wherewithals, has the ability, and probably has the will to do that. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of, I'm pretty sure that none of us are aware of the actual communications that are happening through the channels that we are not connected to. I do believe that Bangladesh will realize very quickly that it is not in its best interest to be India's enemy in any way. That, as a logical person, that would be my guess.
Next question, please. In Bangladesh, do we, India, have any other role except having data of the events dead, raped, injured, and resigned from jobs? Is there anyone condemning these attacks in Bangladesh? Anand Gopalan, it is not even India that is putting the numbers out. It is Utsav Chakrabarti and Hindu Action that is doing it. Do you see the MEA putting out a list like this? Do you see any newspaper in India putting out things like this? I mean, don't these people matter? Aren't we all human beings? Sir, over to you.
So is anyone condemning these attacks in Bangladesh? I do believe there are lots of people in Bangladesh who are condemning it. Many of them are themselves afraid for their lives. I know, and I know many social, because I was in Bangladesh, many years ago. I traveled to Bangladesh, and I have met people there who are sane, logical people. The sad story here is that many of those people are also in danger. Their lives are in danger. They are also being targeted. They are not Hindus, but they are also being targeted. So, we have to understand and have a realistic scenario of what is going on in Bangladesh. What is going on in Bangladesh is that Hindus are the primary target because they are the beholders of that civilization. They are the beholders of the ancient land that is Bangladesh and its history, going back all the way to, when we have recorded history of Alexander's invasion of India. And I can do a show on that as well at some point of time, Sree. And many people in Bangladesh know that, including many sane regular Muslims. But those people don't have any power anymore. Those people are as afraid for their lives as the Hindus are. And those who have power right now are mobs or fanatic jihadis, madrasa educated Sunni Islamists who are roaming around, no different from what happens in Afghanistan. It's just a more greener country. And I always tell this to my friends in America, that imagine Afghanistan with so much tree canopy cover that your drones can't see anything, and you have 10 times the number of Talibans that you have in Afghanistan. That's the reality of where we are heading in Bangladesh. It's not something that anybody would like to be in that situation.
Next question, please. Maithili wants to know, with all the intelligentsia, why the Modi government is not acting? I just told you what happened. The people who had the connects inside the Bangladesh society got transferred. Who effected these transfers? Why does it have to happen this way just before the coup? Connect the dots. Next one, please. Unless you want to add to something. I mean, I
just want to say that, I am always optimistic. What I do, I always have a lot of optimism. I always have a lot of faith in those that make decisions, especially in India. India has a long history of intellectual understanding. India understands Bangladesh quite well. Policymakers in India, experts in India are fully aware of what's the situation. The question is, it's just a matter of time and I hope direction that things will happen. I am very optimistic. So, I sound more little different. I'm very optimistic. Things will not be that bad.
Joy wants to know, is Utsav and team also providing the data and narrative to Indian government?
No, we don't have any we don't communicate with anybody in the Indian government. We are obviously putting it out there. If you go to Hindu Act, which is the Twitter account of Hindu Action, we provide that information, a lot of that information on Twitter. We have a Twitter thread that we are providing that information in. I'm sure there are people in India who are watching it, just like there are people everywhere watching it. We do provide this information to the US State Department, to the White House, and to selected members of Congress and selected senators. We have communicated with them. I personally email them every week with all the updates that I have. I see responses from them acknowledging the details. I'm just disappointed that not enough is being done.
Thank you so much, Utsav. That brings us to a close of today's program. Guys, this is really serious now. And Hindus by nature are not violent. They don't think that they need to learn martial arts to defend themselves. This is where the problem is, and the other side knows it. Even in this boy's crime, you have to go back and look at my 6 a.m. monologue on how the whole thing started. He was merely replying to something else. The original part of the conversation was completely scrubbed out, and only this part was shown to everybody, and suddenly a gang of 5,000 Muslims just gang up. This is very common even in India. It doesn't matter if the guy is guilty or not, Utsav. When the enforcement directorate or the police comes to arrest somebody, the entire population gangs up there and don't allow law to take its own course. One day something is going to happen. I'm telling you. Don't think that forever the patience is going to be exhibited. This is going to result in disproportionate response. Whatever happens after that, you are responsible. That's all I can say. Thank you so much, Utsav, and we'll be back again tonight. General Ravi Shankar and I are going to be talking about India-US relations. And we are taking this step back a little bit to look at what is going on in terms of why things have come to this. If US did have a part in, did have a role in this, why did US resort to this? Was there a reason for that? Was that something that India failed to do? All these things we'll be examining, so do join us for that. Thank you once again, sir. Namaskar.
Namaste. Namaste.